Thane was late. That alone would not have mattered if the city had not noticed. The doors of the restaurant slid open with a soft whisper, the kind of sound meant to calm people before they spent too much money. Warm air rolled out to meet him, real warmth, not the dry recycled breath of ships and stations. Thane paused just long enough to feel wrong in his heavy boots and travel jacket. Everyone inside looked polished, measured, and certain of their place. He went in anyway. The room glowed with quiet wealth. Light reflected from glass tables, silver rails, and smooth walls designed to impress without shouting. People spoke softly, not because they were kind, but because they had learned that power rarely needed volume. Thane scanned the room once. He found her instantly. Lissa sat alone at a small table near the center, her posture straight, hands folded calmly in her lap. Her long, elegant ears curved back slightly, angled in the careful position she used in public spaces. To humans who did not look closely, she appeared almost ordinary, another woman dressed well, confident, and composed. But if they stared a second too long, they noticed what did not fit. The ears. The eyes that reflected light differently. The quiet certainty that did not ask permission. Thane smiled despite himself. Then his smile faded. A man stood too close to her table. A waiter, judging by the uniform. His stance was stiff, his expression tight with the confidence of someone who believed rules were on his side. He leaned slightly forward, blocking part of the table, forcing attention. Thane slowed without thinking. The feeling in his chest was familiar, the moment before ship alarms decided whether to scream. The waiter spoke slowly. Too slowly. Each word was clear. Too clear. Do you understand the menu, Perhaps you are waiting for someone authorized. This section is reserved. Lissa answered with perfect calm. Yes. I understand. I'm waiting. Her voice was polite, smooth, carefully neutral. Thane knew that tone. She used it in negotiations when others mistook patience for weakness. She nodded where nodding ended conversations. She smiled just enough to reduce conflict. One ear twitched once. Thane saw it. Around them, the room practiced a quiet kind of cruelty. People looked away. Forks became fascinating. Glasses needed adjusting. A couple at the next table exchanged a glance that said this is uncomfortable, followed quickly by but not my problem. Thane stopped beside Lissa's chair. He did not touch her. He simply existed. The waiter turned, irritation flashing briefly before relief replaced it, as if a missing piece had arrived. There you are, Thane said mildly. Sorry I'm late. Traffic tried to reverse through a jump corridor. Lissa looked up. For a single heartbeat, her composure softened into warmth. I warned you not to race the stars, she said. They dislike competition. The waiter cleared his throat. Sir, he asked, is this person with you? Thane blinked, as if considering a difficult technical question. Yes, he said. She's my wife. The word landed like a dropped plate. She's also a senior diplomatic liaison whose trade agreements kept 3 of your imported wines affordable this quarter. The waiter frowned. His certainty faltered. Thane continued, still calm, still quiet. She enjoys long walks, difficult conversations, and menus that don't assume incompetence. Curiosity spread through the nearby tables. Attention, once carefully avoided, now crept closer. Lissa sighed softly, not defeated, just resigned. Thane, she said, you're making this awkward. He leaned closer, lowering his voice. I planned to stop at awkward, he whispered. I have notes if we need to continue. Color drained from the waiter's face. Footsteps approached, quick, nervous, important. Thane straightened as the manager arrived, smile stretched too tightly to be natural. He bowed slightly to Thane, then more deeply to Lissa, as if recent training had emphasized priority. Apologies poured out. Promises followed. Policies were mentioned. Values were listed. Respect was declared loudly enough to cover its earlier absence. Lissa listened politely. Then she spoke. May I ask, she said gently, are these values part of your standard service, or are they only available upon request? The manager laughed too loudly, unsure if he was being mocked. They left. Outside, the city felt different. Hover traffic hummed above. Light panels shifted color as evening recalibrated itself. Thane exhaled, realizing he had been holding his breath. "Well," he said, "we weren't arrested." "You set a very low bar for romance," Lissa replied. They walked together, tension slowly loosening. Lissa laughed softly, the sound born of relief rather than humor. "This happens often," she said quietly. "More than you think." Thane nodded. "I know," he said. "In theory." She glanced at him. "That's the problem." Morning arrived without sunlight. The city sky shifted politely from night blue to hopeful blue. Thane woke early, which made him suspicious. He lay still, listening to the apartment hum. Lissa slept beside him, one ear flat, the other angled upward. Always listening. He brushed her hand lightly. Her eyes opened instantly. "Was I snoring?" she asked. "Only in 3 languages," he said. They moved through the morning together. The food unit complained briefly before surrendering. Lissa checked her diplomatic console. "The assembly moved the negotiations forward," she said. "Of course they did," Thane replied. "Nothing says stability like panic." She hesitated. "There have been reports," she added. He frowned. "Please tell me no one declared war over dessert." "Not yet," she said. "But several delegates believe public spaces on human worlds are hostile." "That's a polite word for rude," he said. "Yes," she agreed. With footnotes. At the assembly complex, gravity shifted gently between platforms, leaving everyone slightly uncomfortable. Lissa stood at her station, ears uncovered, voice steady. Thane watched from the observer tier. She spoke of trade, of cooperation, of shared futures. Then she spoke of waiting rooms, of glances, of assumptions. She never raised her voice. That made it worse. During a recess, she joined him. "You enjoyed that," he said. "I did," she admitted. Scolding a room politely is rare. A junior aide approached. "The Human Council requests your presence tonight," they said. "A public dinner." Thane raised an eyebrow. "That sounds dangerous." "It's controlled," the aide said quickly. Lissa smiled. "Then yes." The dinner was careful. Too careful. Cameras hovered. Smiles were measured. Words were padded. Lissa navigated it smoothly. Someone complimented how well adjusted she was. "Thank you," she replied. "I've had centuries of practice." Progress, Thane decided later, was fragile but real. The public forum came next. Citizens filled the amphitheater. Humans. Aliens. Holograms. Lissa stood alone at the center. Questions came. "Do you get tired of correcting us?" "Yes," she answered. "But silence is worse." "Why do you need special treatment?" "Equality and sameness are not the same," she explained, using pressure and atmosphere as examples. Thane watched the cost of each answer. When their eyes met, she raised one eyebrow. "Are you here?" He nodded. "Always." Afterward, a young woman approached Lissa. "My sister has ears like yours," she said. People stare. "Then they are missing something extraordinary," Lissa replied. The message arrived at night. Urgent. Private. A coalition threatened to withdraw unless the issue of human hospitality was addressed publicly. "They want a statement," Lissa said. "Not an incident. A pattern." Thane sat up. "That's big." "Yes," she said softly. "And exhausting." The address went out the next day. Lissa spoke of trade and future alliances. Then she spoke of sidewalks. Restaurants. Quiet exclusions. She described what it meant to exist where belonging was undecided. When it ended, the silence was vast. Later, exhausted, she asked Thane for something stupid. He told her about smuggling a lizard onto a training ship. She laughed until she cried. On their final day, the city felt apologetic. "They're calling it a framework," Lissa said. "Frameworks become policies." At the spaceport, her console chimed. The waiter, she said, smiling. Mandatory training. 3-page apology. Excessive, Thane said. Which means it mattered. They boarded the ship. As stars stretched and snapped into place, Thane felt different. Not late. Not watching. Standing beside. And Lissa, watching the future unfold, no longer carried it alone. The ship entered open space with a low vibration that ran through the floor like a living thing stretching awake. Thane rested one hand on the control panel, feeling the familiar hum beneath his fingers. This was where he was most himself, between stars, between places that demanded explanations. Lissa sat beside him, quiet, watching the stars reform outside the viewport. Her ears were relaxed now, angled slightly forward, no longer braced for impact. That alone told Thane how tired she had been. They traveled in silence for a while. Not the awkward kind. The earned kind. The ship's systems chimed softly. Incoming transmission. Encrypted. Priority diplomatic channel. Lissa exhaled slowly. That didn't take long. The projection unfolded in the air, resolving into the image of a circular chamber filled with representatives from 6 species. Some were biological. Some mechanical. Some existed as light and sound translated into something humans could understand. At the center hovered the symbol of the Interstellar Assembly. A neutral voice spoke. Ambassador Lissa of Veren. Cargo Captain Thane Hale. Thank you for responding. Thane resisted the urge to salute sarcastically. We've been ordered to attend, he asked. Invited, the voice corrected. Urgently. Lissa tilted her head. This concerns the hospitality framework. Yes, the voice said. And the reaction to it. Another presence leaned forward. A delegate from a mineral-rich system, their voice sharp and metallic. Your statement has caused disruption. Lissa's expression remained calm. Truth often does. Trade data appeared in the air. Routes flickered red. Contracts blinked yellow. Several minor systems are reconsidering human partnerships, the delegate continued. They feel uncertain. Thane leaned back in his chair. Uncertain, he repeated. Because someone finally said the quiet part out loud. A murmur rippled through the chamber. A different delegate spoke, organic, voice smooth. Humans claim adaptability as their strength, they said. Yet they struggle with difference. Lissa met their gaze steadily. So do most species, she replied. The difference is that humans pretend they do not. Silence. Then the assembly voice returned. There is a proposal, it said. A controlled demonstration. Thane frowned. That sounds like a bad idea wearing a polite name. The projection shifted. Images appeared, crowded transit hubs, markets, public spaces on human worlds. You want us to prove safety, Lissa said slowly. Yes, the voice confirmed. Publicly. Visibly. Thane felt something tighten in his chest. You want to use her as evidence, he said flatly. The chamber did not deny it. Lissa's ears angled back slightly, then settled. If this happens, she said, it will not be theater. The assembly hesitated. Define terms. She leaned forward. I will not smile for cameras. I will not soften my words. I will walk openly, without escort, through human-controlled space. If something happens, the galaxy will see it. Thane turned toward her sharply. No, he said. She looked at him. Yes, she replied gently. That's exactly why it works. The vote happened quickly. Too quickly. The world they chose was busy, central, and proud of its reputation. A trade hub. A crossroads. A place humans loved to point at and say, see, we're fine. The landing pad was crowded with officials, observers, and security forces trying very hard not to look like security forces. Cameras floated everywhere. Thane stepped off the ship first, scanning instinctively. No threats. Nothing obvious. That made him more uneasy. Lissa followed. She wore no formal insignia. No diplomatic markings. Just a simple outfit that made no attempt to hide what she was. Her ears were fully visible. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Some people smiled. Some stared. Some looked away too quickly. They walked. At first, nothing happened. Too smooth. A vendor called out friendly greetings. A child waved. A tourist asked for a picture. Thane forced himself to stay half a step behind. Back up, not shield. They entered a transit corridor, wide and bright. Advertisements flickered overhead, selling travel, comfort, belonging. Then someone laughed. Not kindly. A man stood near the wall, arms crossed, eyes fixed on Lissa. Didn't know the zoo had an open day, he said loudly. The corridor slowed. People pretended not to hear. Lissa stopped. She turned. What do you mean? She asked calmly. The man shrugged. Just saying. Don't you people have your own worlds? Cameras zoomed. Thane felt heat rise in his chest. Lissa nodded once. Yes, she said. And we welcome visitors. We do not treat them as displays. The man scoffed. You chose to come here. So did you, she replied. The difference is that I did not choose to be mocked. Silence pressed in. Someone clapped. One person. Then another. The man muttered something and walked away. They continued. Further in, the crowd thickened. A woman stepped into Lissa's path. Can I touch them? She asked, gesturing toward Lissa's ears. No, Lissa said. The woman frowned. Why not? Because I am not an object, Lissa answered. The woman flushed. I was just curious. So is gravity, Lissa said. It still hurts when ignored. Laughter broke out. The woman backed away, embarrassed. Thane exhaled slowly. Then it happened. A sharp sound. Something small struck the ground near Lissa's feet. A piece of packaging. Thrown. Deliberate. Security surged forward. Lissa raised a hand. No, she said firmly. She bent, picked it up, and held it up for the cameras. This, she said, is why frameworks exist. Her voice did not shake. This is not violence. Not yet. This is permission. Given quietly, through silence. The corridor was completely still now. Thane felt something change. People shifted. Eyes lifted. Spines straightened. A human woman stepped forward. That's not okay, she said loudly. Another voice joined. Leave her alone. A man near the back spoke up. She's right. Security stopped advancing. The cameras captured everything. They reached the central plaza. The demonstration was officially over. Unofficially, it had just begun. That night, the feeds exploded. Clips replayed across networks. Commentators argued. Analysts debated. Some called it exaggeration. Others called it overdue. Human councils scrambled. Emergency sessions were called. Thane watched from the ship, arms crossed. They're afraid, he said. Lissa nodded. Good. Fear means attention. A message arrived from the assembly. The minor trade houses had reversed their threat. Not because nothing happened. Because something did. Publicly. A different message followed. A human coalition. Not governments. People. They wanted to speak. The next address was not in a chamber. It was broadcast from the ship's cargo bay. No symbols. No flags. No protection. Lissa stood beside Thane, not in front of him. We are not here to accuse, she said. We are here to ask. The feed carried her voice everywhere. When did comfort become more important than kindness? When did curiosity become entitlement? When did silence become neutral? She paused. Humans are known for endurance, she continued. For adapting. For surviving impossible odds. Her eyes met the camera. Prove it. The response was immediate. Messages flooded in. Apologies. Stories. Admissions. Some ugly. Some hopeful. Human institutions moved faster than the assembly expected. Training mandates. Public space reforms. Independent oversight. Not perfect. But real. Days later, as the ship prepared to leave, Thane and Lissa stood at the viewport. "You were brave," he said. She smiled faintly. "So were they." He nodded. "That part surprised me." "HFY," she said softly. He laughed. "You've been reading human forums again." "They're loud," she replied. "But sincere." The ship lifted. Stars stretched. As they jumped, Thane felt something settle into place. Humans were not heroes because they were kind. They were heroes because, when forced to look at themselves, they sometimes chose to change. And this time, the galaxy noticed.